Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome to our second event from the series focusing on cost-saving technologies for the manufacturing industry. Today's topic, automation. My name is Giannis and I work on the ventures team here at Plug and Play. I will be taking care of you for the first half of the event. Now, I'd like to welcome our COO, Candace Widows, to share a few words.
Hello, my name is Candace Widows. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Plug and Play, and today I'm going to do a brief overview of our new social impact initiative called End COVID-19. For those of you who don't know us, we are an innovation platform, and what that means is that we break it down into three different buckets. The first would be our venture capital arm. We invest in over 200 companies every year, usually very small ticket sizes, around $150,000 per investment. The second bucket would be corporate innovation. We work with over 400 corporations across 17 different industries and topics to connect startups with business units of large organizations to get technology to market faster. In fact, we've built our entire business model around the interests of corporations and our investment strategy as well. In terms of our accelerator programs, that really adds structure to all of our investment and corporate innovation activities that we do. We run 3-month programs twice a year for every topic that we cover. Now, for this COVID-19 initiative, our mission really is to protect the lives and livelihoods of those affected by COVID-19. And we're going to do this by validating and scaling solutions that can restore communities and revitalize economies by connecting innovative technology with our platform partners. And when we talk about our platform partners, of course, it involves startups. We have over 20,000 startups in our database, our corporate partners. We also work with nonprofits and foundations, venture capitalists, governments, and universities. We break the COVID-19 initiative into 4 different tracks. The first would be health, the second would be supply chain, the third would be enterprise technology, and the fourth would be the commerce track. Now for the health track, we're looking at everything from mental health, symptom checkers, prevention solutions, telemedicine. I was speaking with somebody recently who had a dental emergency, and he had a video call with his dentist to get referred to an oral surgeon. And his dentist remarked, this would have never happened a few weeks ago. With all the regulatory shifts that are happening, now is a really good time to implement new technology. We have been all dramatically, deeply affected by this. And so now is the time to implement technology solutions that have always been there, but we haven't been quite ready to implement. Looking at our enterprise tech track, technologies such as intelligent process automation, dealing with compliance. A lot of businesses are having to wade through the bureaucracy of getting government aid. What are the technology solutions that can aid in that? Looking at upskilling and reskilling our workforce. It could be baggage handlers for an airline, could find other positions at delivery or other areas in the more essential economy right now, as all of these industries are being deeply affected, in particular the travel industry right now. Looking at the supply chain and industrial verticals, looking at things like computer vision to monitor social distancing management. This could be in a factory setting or a warehouse, or even an emergency room, waiting room. Looking at consumer signals, a number of our business partners are seeing softening demand, or at least dramatically shifting demand. How do we improve that demand forecast planning? Looking at fulfillment and last mile delivery solutions. And finally, our commerce track, where we're combining the verticals that have been hardest hit by this crisis, our retail, travel, looking at financial solutions as well. So, and these could be things like keeping furloughed workers engaged, looking at technologies that can help banks lend to small and medium businesses who desperately need liquidity right now, looking at contactless payments, looking at what is the new normal when we get back into restaurants and retailers. How are we changing the orientation of the layout to maximize social distancing? Now, over the next 6 months, we're working with our platform partners, and we're looking for a select few of what we call pilot partners. And these are the ones that we want to really dig our hands in the soil and work with our startups to get new technology solutions that protect the lives and livelihoods of those affected by COVID-19 to market faster. And again, we want to validate them by working with our partners and then scale them. You can find all of this content on our website at pmptc.com/COVID-19. There you can also find an application site. So if you're a startup, you're a foundation, you're a government, you're a corporation, please do apply there. Or you can reach out directly to me at candace@pmptc.com. Thank you so much for your attention. Please enjoy the rest of this event.
Thank you, Candace. Just to really quickly recap this, if you are working on a technology, if you know someone who's working on a technology that could benefit the entire society and supply chains and companies during this time, reach out to anyone at Plug and Play. We're more than happy to work closely with you just to fight this all together. But now let's get back to the event, shall we? Really quickly, we will start with a keynote by Charlie Dunchan, who is the CEO of Celtrio, followed by startup pitches, which is the main portion of the day today. And then let's wrap it up and see who's interested in whom and what introductions we can facilitate today. Just a few opening words before we jump into the presentations. Why are we doing this? Deploying robotics technology can benefit manufacturers in terms of increased efficiencies, safety, and just give additional competitive advantage. Working with startups, on the other hand, can reduce the risk of failures when it comes to large capital investments in research and development. And this is particularly relevant now after the COVID-19 has impacted pretty much everyone's operations. So that's why we want to bring large corporations focusing on robotics applications to increase their efficiencies and startups that can help them out significantly. Quick things just to make sure the event goes smoothly today. This is the second one of the series, but please don't forget to tune in for the next one on May 14th, which is the last one from the series focusing on the cost-saving technology, and that session will be focusing on data. Again, just to make sure everything goes smoothly today, please make sure you remain muted when you're not talking, except for presenters, obviously. If you have any questions, and hopefully you will have questions toward your presenters, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom interface. Please click on that one and feel free to submit any questions you have for either the presenters or ourselves, and we will be more than happy to address those in a timely manner. And then each presentation today will be followed by 2 minutes of Q&A for startups to address any questions the audience has today. But now I feel like I'm hijacking the entire session already. I would like to pass this over to our dear friend Charlie, who, as I mentioned, is the CEO of Celtrio, and he will share a little bit more insights about the robotics space and the current state of that nowadays. Charlie, how are you doing this morning? Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. But I would definitely love to talk to Charlie the most.
Can you hear me, Giannis?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing this morning?
Okay, I think I just fixed the problem.
That's good to hear. Oh my God, you look as handsome as ever. Like, what time did you wake up to get ready today?
No, as you can see from the picture, I've grown my lockdown mustache. But good morning, everyone. Happy to be with you virtually. If we can move to the next 2 slides, we'll get started here. I want to start just saying who Celtrio is. Celtrio is a startup company here in the Valley who specializes in manufacturing vertical solutions in life science automation. And those solutions fall, and we in essence are different from most startups because we acquired worldwide rights to technology that was already installed and running in Korea from a company called Robotics and Design. And we're taking that to the rest of the world, adding our software. Next. 2 product areas. One is automated biobanking. For those who are not familiar, human samples, blood samples can be stored minus 190 degrees Celsius solutions that are liquid nitrogen freezers. And we automate that And then on the cell culturing side, which is a very keen area of interest right now with COVID-19, we automate all cell culturing vertically. And we do that in the search of drugs for cures of all cancers, vaccines, and therapeutic drugs. Next. This is just a video that will show a quick example of the Robo Store. This is the product that automates storage and retrieval, everything from embryos to stem cells, animal cells, blood samples. You can see the robot bringing up from that freezer at minus 190 Celsius. Obviously, human hands can't spend much time in that environment. And we've completely automated that storage and retrieval. Next. We just announced, and Worthington just announced, a partnership with us to take this product to the world as our marketing arm. Next. This is some of the pieces, some of the modules in our cell culturing automation. On the lower left, you'll see our SCARA robot arm loading a centrifuge. That's where cell harvesting is done. On the right, you'll see our liquid handling robot, which also serves as a flask, decapper and capper robot. In the back, you'll see our larger SCARA robot loading and unloading our incubator. We manufacture all of these modules. And needless to say, with COVID-19, this is a very heightened area of interest for us. Next. So we're part of this robust robot growth that's been showing 12% growth and will continue, according to forecast, maybe even increase that rate. Next. I like to think maybe after my many years in robots that I'm now seeing what I call a perfect storm for industrial robots. It's not just robot developments, but new other technologies enabling robot developments that we're going to touch on. Costs are coming down, labor shortages worldwide, a lot of incentives to do local manufacturing, onshoring. We're even seeing more of that now. And I think all these things combine to be a very good time to be in the robot industry. Next. This is just shows how these technologies have affected robots in the past and how I think they're going to affect them in the future. The first enabler was when we introduced machine vision to robots. In the last 10 years, we've developed collaborative robot technology. There's always a need for more flexible grippers. Those are more and more coming online. Costs are coming down. And cloud computing has really helped robotics in two ways, because it's taken cost out of robot controllers by putting storage and processing hardware in the cloud. At the same time, it enables access to these huge databases that enable the use of artificial intelligence for robots. Next. So looking back, vision allowed robots to do things, and these are applications that I've been involved with for vision-guided candy packaging that you see on the left, and vision allowed the replacement of dedicated parts in industrial automation, part feeders that were dedicated to a single part for flexible feeders that can handle a lot of different parts. Next. One of my favorite applications that I did was automating cookie assembly at Pepperidge Farm for the Milano cookie using high-speed robots with vision. Next. The collaborative robots began showing up on the scene a little over 10 years ago. The beauty here is robots can work side by side with people without the cost of all the safety features. And what I like about collaborative robots, it allows human backup. If a robot stumbles, if an AI algorithm stumbles, you've got a person right next to that robot. And I think this enables automation in a much more flexible way. Next. One of my companies, Grabit, which actually was a plug-and-play company, we developed electrostatic grippers to handle parts that would otherwise could not be handled by mechanical grippers or vacuum grippers. In essence, creating electrostatic fields and acting like a magnet that can attract anything. Next. One of the things that was very exciting about Grabit was one of our investors, Nike, turned out to be an outstanding collaborative partner. Nike, I didn't know this until we worked on their project, that Nike shoe is made up of many layers of different materials, perforated materials, solid polymer materials that get built up and then put in a mold for sewing or gluing. And so what our robots and electrostatic grippers did here was pick up the parts in a random orientation, register them with vision, and then stack them on the next layer in an automated way. Next. Working on that with Nike led to another interesting opportunity that's still out there, frankly, is in the apparel industry, being able to pick up, as you see here, pockets one at a time with electrostatic gripper and loading fabric that then goes to the sewing, automated sewing application. Next. This is interesting because fabric has always been manufactured in the US, and fabric has always been die cut into the patterns, but then it has gone offshore for the sewing. Now that sewing is automated, we've got this gap. If we can automate going from patterns to the sewing, then we can have a significant cost reduction in fabric. Next. And we did a study with Stanford and found out that if you can eliminate this lost 30 days of logistics time going offshore and now doing that loading automatically into automatic stitchers, it actually could have a 1.7% improvement in gross margin in the apparel industry. Next. Here's an application that people have been working on for many, many years, bin picking, and it's getting closer and closer to fruition in manufacturing. And the reason is manufacturing, you can have, you know what part you're looking for. And AI algorithms can address the robot handling motion for that specific part. It's much more challenging in the order fulfillment in the Amazons of the world, because Amazon, an example in Tracy here in California, has a potential of 18 million different SKUs. So you can't have a part database. The robot has got to recognize the form factor of that part and handle it. And there are companies working on this as well. It's a huge opportunity. But I think we'll see more bin picking in factories before we see this kind of handling in order fulfillment centers. Next. I mentioned cost reduction. The handheld, the smartphone has done so much for robotics, lowering costs for everything from accelerators to cameras. Next. I want to talk briefly about AI and machine learning. Everybody's asking, when will artificial intelligence really drive factory floor robots? Well, we're already seeing predictive maintenance using AI algorithms, machine learning, and you'll hear a talk on that later here today. I want to stress, though, that with machine vision, there's a big difference between perception and cognition. Machine vision has become so powerful today that it can see so many different things, but cognition is recognizing what it is, what position it is, and what's the best way to handle it. And it has to be done because I always say rebooting is not an option on the demanding factory floor. So I think AI can drive robot decisions on the factory floor if we properly define what the potential variations are. But the challenge are what we call the outliers. You know, this dense distribution of predictable environments versus that one outlier. A good example is that brand new SKU that shows up at an Amazon fulfillment center for robot handling. Next. I like to talk about the manufacturing pendulum when it comes to this onshoring phenomenon that we're seeing now. If you just look at history, in the 70s, there's a very strong manufacturing base in North America. But in the 80s, we saw us begin to migrate. The Japanese really took over the consumer electronics industry, also the automotive industry. Singapore took over the disk drive industry for manufacturing. But an interesting thing in the 90s, the pendulum swung back when all of a sudden product lead time to market became critical. Getting that next cell phone to market, getting that next laptop to market. That led to US companies putting their product design engineers side by side with their manufacturing engineers. This was I was with the Depth Technology, and it was a great decade for us. We went public because there was so much growth in the US in automation to get the product to the market as quickly as possible. But then the bubble popped in 2000. That led to more moving of manufacturing, chasing the cheap labor in Asia and China. But now we're seeing this come back again. There's a lot of factors driving it. Nike had the vision of distributed manufacturing where people could design one shoe on their site for them and have that delivered from a local factory. And now, as we know, there's a tremendous supply chain disruption with the virus breakout in China. Next. And kind of hitting on that point, just 2 weeks ago, Mark Cuban on Breitbart News was talking about America 2.0, the world after COVID-19. And he was really stressing that he personally was looking at investments in robotics, and that he sees robotics as the way going forward, including this onshoring and shortening of the risk in supply chains. Next. Well, I guess that's it. We have time for questions. Giannis?
We have time for questions, and thank you so much for sharing this. This was extremely insightful. Anyone who has any questions for Charlie right now, please submit them in the Q&A box here on Zoom. And I see some of them are already coming in. Charlie, what kinds of robotic solutions are in demand right now, given the situation with COVID-19?
Well, I think we have both the temporary and a long-term demand. The temporary demand is keeping workers distanced. I think this serves mobile robots quite well. Mobile robots being able to move parts in a very flexible way from one workstation to another. They can be installed very quickly. I think that's kind of the short-term driver from the virus for robots. I mentioned earlier with CellTrio, I think the need to compress the drug discovery cycle is more important than ever. And robots working 24/7 and also eliminating human error can have a huge impact there. So that's just two examples, I think, of how this virus is impacting the need for robots.
Thank you. You also mentioned that it's the perfect storm to focus on robotics applications right now. For a company that is kind of very early on in their automation journey, what would be the low-hanging fruit? What kinds of applications should they focus on? Is it like material handling, drones for warehouse inspection, robotic arms? What makes the most sense?
I think you hit it. I think material handling is probably the low-hanging fruit in robotics. Certainly palletizing. Palletizing has come a long way for robots being able to do mixed SKU loads as an example of palletizing. Simple pick and place. I think these are really good places to start. But what I mentioned earlier, I think mobile robots, the technology is so robust now. It's so easy to install with the automated floor mapping and so forth. Those would be the areas that I think would be really good places to start. And as I mentioned, with collaborative robots now, there's much less risk implementing robots because you got people side by side to help.
Maybe last quick one. Oh, I see some, I'm gonna save my question for offline. I see someone else is asking, are you seeing any companies now accelerating the investment going into those robotics technologies during COVID-19? And if that's the case, to what extent would those solutions be relevant right now? Like, are there any extra investments going into robotics that address COVID-19 problems? And if so, what would be the future of those after the quarantine kind of dies down?
Well, I mentioned Mark Cuban with his intentions of investing, and I am certain that in the life sciences industry, and I'm seeing it myself, a very strong interest in robotics. One example that was mentioned by the Eli Lilly CEO was that the great thing about robotics meeting the needs of COVID-19 testing in the Eli Lilly labs is they were able to repurpose robots that were already being used for other applications in drug discovery and repurpose them in a matter of a few days to begin doing the automated COVID-19 testing. So that sent a strong signal. And I think that I think there's probably going to be a real strong interest in the mobile robot industry with more companies investing there for the reasons that I stated earlier.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie. This was very, very pleasant, and thanks for joining us today. I strongly encourage you to hang out with us for a while longer. We have more questions actually coming in for you, so maybe you can type out some of the answers in the Q&A box where those questions are. But now I'd like to hand it over to my dear colleague, Katsi, and we can jump into the presentations part of the day. But once again, thank you so much, Charlie.
Thanks.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Giannis. It was a great and very insightful keynote. My name is Kati Nayeri. I am a corporate partnership manager within our Smart Cities team, and I will be your MC for today. I'm super excited and thrilled because today, for the first half of the presentations, we have startups focusing on a robotics and automation space. followed by 2 extremely cool startups in the predictive maintenance space. So with that, allow me to introduce you to Mattia with Gideon Brothers to kick us off.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mattia. I'm from Gideon Brothers, and today I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about what we're working on. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, getting ready for the post-COVID-19 world. So we are a team of around 60 robotics and AI engineers based in Croatia, Europe. We're designing visual perception sensors and algorithms designed to turn our everyday mobile machines into highly perceptive self-driving robots. And I'm sure you've been running into all sorts of different machines throughout your factories, your warehouses, your retail stores, manually operated machines, for example, like this forklift on the screen, are quite essential to your operations, of course. But these machines can also be very dangerous for humans. There are not enough humans out there to actually operate those manual machines. And COVID-19 has also added a new uncertainty into the mix, because now we have to also take care of our workers' health. On the other side, you probably also have been using or implementing AGVs, guided vehicles, which are quite not flexible. They're super expensive and not extremely efficient in what they're supposed to do. So we think there's a better way to do it, and we believe that the future of mobile automation is visual perception. So let me just run a really quick video for you here. We have designed a system which can turn any type of mobile machine into a self-driving robot. And for example, our machines can differentiate between different types or different classes of objects in their environment. They can also understand their environment in 3D, which is quite important if you're trying to navigate around your obstacles in 3D. 3D understanding of the world is really how we humans do it. So it is very critical that we transfer that capability to our mobile robots as well. Our robots track natural features of the space, and that's how they reference, that's how they localize themselves within that environment. Also, they can understand how far away something is from them, so that they can actually adjust their navigation, their movement according to those 3D objects in their vicinity. And to prove that this idea actually can work, we built our own machine. It is a pallet handling robot designed to carry around heavy cargo. It can be nicely and easily integrated into your existing infrastructure through different interfaces we have built. And if you have a need for a pallet or bin or shelf transportation, cargo transportation machines, that's something we can offer as well. Here's an example of one of our machines running in a very large distribution center operated by one of the world's largest 3PL operators, DB Schenker in Germany. Real quick video here.
And in ergonomics. 3 robots supply packaging material to several packaging places.
Our robots are supplying packaging materials in this facility.
They have the possibility to press a button, and then one of the robots starts.
So our robots are really have been kind of working their way through a very, very busy DB Schenker facility here over there in Leipzig. DB Schenker is only one of our large customers. We're working with some of the largest retail manufacturing companies in the world. So we believe that the future of mobile automation is visual perception. If your machines need this capability, let us know and we'd be happy to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we have Mattia with us today. How you doing, Mattia?
Hey, Kati, doing fine, thank you.
Great. Let's have a look in the Q&A box and get these questions started. So here's a question asking, how difficult is it to retrofit older machinery with your system?
Well, that depends on the definition of older machinery, but it's actually quite easy once you have all the building blocks in place. We usually are supplying the machine OEMs with some basic elements of the visual autonomy system, primarily the camera sensor itself, different variations of the stereo visual camera solution we built in-house, paired with a powerful AI computer, which is running all sorts of different autonomy algorithms on board that computer, starting with 3D mapping of the space, so capability of the machine to actually understand its environment in 3D, navigation algorithms, semantic understanding of the space, obstacle avoidance, all sorts of application-specific vision capabilities.
Great. And I think that the next question goes with the questions you just answered, but can you tell us a little bit more about the DB Schenker case study? What did they already have in place, and how can they take advantage of your solution?
Sure. In terms of the kind of autonomous mobile robot solutions, they were actually not using them before. This was one of the kind of early pilots they've done with us, and we did a very, very good job. The pilot was very, very successful. But in terms of if the question is kind of geared towards what do you need to have in your space, the answer is nothing. And that's the gist of it. That's the beauty of flexible automation. Our holy grail is to take a large fleet of our robots and to simply drop them into your existing facilities without you actually having to change anything. And these machines have to be up and running and operational in a day or two. And most of those 2 days are going to be spent on training your people on how to actually operate those machines.
That's great to hear. I'm seeing a lot more questions coming in. Unfortunately, we're running a little bit behind. So maybe if you want to just leave your email in the Q&A box or in the chat webinar so people can reach out. But thank you so much for being here with us today. And next we'll have Litmus Automation.
Thank you, everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Eunice. I'm the co-founder and COO at Litmus, a San Jose-based company focused on helping industrial organizations leverage the power of the intelligent edge. Litmus's mission is really to help these industrial organizations to unlock the critical data that's required in order to enable Industry 4.0, IoT, and digital transformation use cases. Really, the goal that everybody's after here is how to improve efficiency overall and reduce costs by having a flexible data intelligence platform which can basically connect across any type of industrial asset or system to enable a wide variety of use cases is really the approach that we're taking here. So main use cases here that we have, starting from the first one, which is asset and process visibility, having real-time data and information and visibility into all of your equipment and assets across multiple sites and remote locations, and then being able to, in real time, monitor the health of these assets to take better real-time decisions based on the data as it's coming through, and then enable use cases like predictive maintenance, so we can optimize maintenance schedules, increase uptime of machines, and so on, as well as then improving the process overall. So as we're collecting this data, as products are going through the manufacturing process, how we can optimize in real time based on improving quality and taking decisions through the manufacturing process. We help solve this with our Litmus Edge computing platform, which is a software system which is installed locally in the factory or at a remote site. And this essentially provides a number of different main components here, starting with legacy device connectivity, being able to connect across a wide variety of industrial assets and systems going back to 1950s devices all the way up to modern sensors and devices. And then being able to manage all this data, normalize it into a common format and structure, and take intelligent decisions based on that data as it's coming through. So setting up various data workflows, rules, and alerts around the data, as well as taking action on the data, whether it's pushing control and decisions back to the devices and manufacturing process, or just sending out real-time alerts. And then integrating this data to higher level applications or enterprise systems to get further use out of this data. really, in today's world, obviously, we're dealing with a business continuity challenge here with COVID-19, and then obviously the challenges that are presenting themselves with an economic slowdown in certain industries. So there's three main things here that companies are looking to, that need to address essentially. We're starting with agile manufacturing. You have manufacturing companies like GM, for example, who are starting to alter their manufacturing process from manufacturing cars now to manufacturing ventilators. So having a flexible IoT technology that can actually adapt to these new machines and processes in a quick manner is almost a requirement in today's world now. And then dealing with remote manufacturing now to reduce the amount of time people spend at machines and moving through the manufacturing factories as well. So being able to do a lot more things remotely by enabling IIoT, and then really bringing the promise of smart manufacturing in order to improve overall efficiency and lower costs. So this is coming down to increasing automation workflows throughout the whole manufacturing process, utilizing tools like machine learning in order to optimize assets and processes, which we can then increase throughput and efficiency and eventually overall equipment effectiveness overall. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. Feel free to ask any questions. I'd be happy to chat as well afterwards, as well, if you have anything you'd like to talk about.
Great. Oh, can we, yeah. Can we go back 2 slides, please? Here we go. I think we have John today with us. How you doing, John?
Hey, Kathy, I'm good. How are you?
Good, hanging in there. I do believe that we have a few questions for you, so I'll jump right into them. Here's a question saying, what do companies need to have in place to make litmus system useful? Elaborate a little bit more about that.
Yes. So the power of Litmus is essentially that we can work with a lot of the existing technologies or systems that are already in place. So there's very little that needs to be done. Also, it's a very configurable based product. So it's very minimal in terms of the technology or engineering resources that are required to actually leverage a system like this. So it's quite out of the box. Everything is from end to end, very easy to configure. So I see here they're asking about data science teams. We even have some ready to go analytics workflows that you can get out of the box, manufacturing KPIs. So if you are looking to get very heavy into the machine learning side, then yes, some internal data science teams are required. But to get some statistical analysis and anomaly detection and various manufacturing KPIs, that's pretty driven out of the box.
And can you elaborate a little bit more on how your part can help remote manufacturing?
Sure. So essentially, our software is installed locally within the factory by installing it on a gateway or industrial PC or virtualized in a server. So essentially, we have a counterpart product which is called the Edge Manager, and that can remotely access all these edge nodes deployed in the factories. So you can, in real time, be able to see all the data. You can push commands back to the assets. You can create real-time workflows to create decisions. So everything can be accessed remotely from anywhere. We're even doing factory 35 site deployments with some of our customers now today without even having to go into the factory itself. So not only can we deploy the software, but then the customers can operate it as well remotely.
Nice, interesting. We have a couple more questions. So before, maybe you can just leave your email in the Q&A box so people can reach out to you. But thank you, John, for joining us. And next we'll have Authentize and I think Andre's with us. Let's hear from them.
Hi there, my name is Andre Wegner. I'm the founder of Authentize. We're a US company making manufacturing execution systems connected to manufacturing devices. So we receive the data from those devices, mostly focused on the discrete segment right now. Our customers are mostly in the aerospace or medical area, but also now automotive, for example. And Largely, the system is used for additive as well as a bit of subtractive manufacturing. The tool includes a variety of different features, one of which is the efficient entry of orders, whether through API from your ERP system or via a form. But what's unique about it is that we're using historical data from the manufacturing devices to tell us how long a part might need to be produced in the future. And another feature is that when the part is then in production, we're using data again from the manufacturing devices to update the order automatically, and for those process steps that do not involve a kind of a machine is a manual, they then get updated by an operator using an app on the shop floor. And that results in a full digital thread of the part. So every step of the process is being tracked, whether it's order entry, order review, data from the machine, data from the metrology devices and testing, operator actions, that kind of stuff. Everything is captured in one place. And those are only three of a variety of features that we have, but you can already see that implementing a system like that will save everybody in the production process a lot of time and therefore money. For example, just the fact that we now have machines updating order status provides more reliability, transparency of what's happening on the shop floor, so that one of our customers was able to shorten the time they have to meet every morning. And quoting is another process that can take hours to get a quote out, or even days in some cases. And again, we were able to save cash there. And the same is true for quality assurance, because now you have one automatically generated traceability report that allows you to see exactly what's happening. It's just a start, though. Authentize is unique because it's built on microservices architecture. You can see above the line the modules that are already included. But another way that we can help you save costs is that you can access innovation from algorithm providers, other startups, research institutes, providers in the market by plugging them into the system and relying on APIs in our system to give you the most up-to-date, cutting-edge tools available to you at each stage of the process, be it in geometric search, simulation, mesh shielding, whatever it is that you want to do. And accessing that data is the data that's generated as part of the process. The contextual data that's generated is a huge, important factor, not only for your current learning, but if you want to build additional services on top of that data. And that's something that Authentize is doing as we speak. So our understanding is that the current tool is incredibly helpful for companies that need to be agile, need to be able to react to market trends. And we're seeing that during the COVID times, especially understanding what your suppliers are actually capable of or have the capacity to do at any given moment is incredibly important. And that's why we're building on top of our manufacturing execution system, a layer of supplier management to help you in that process too. Thank you very much.
Great. And I do think we have Andre with us today.
Unmute. Hi there.
Can you hear us? Oh, hi.
Yeah, hi.
We can see you. We can hear you. How are you doing?
Great. Fine, thanks. Great to be here.
Right. Are you here in Silicon Valley or in America or?
No, I'm in the UK at the moment.
Oh, UK. Nice. Okay. Well, we have a couple of questions for you. The first question is for companies who are less familiar with additive manufacturing processes, is Authentize a good place to start?
Yes, we have a number of companies larger customers, who are generally, as an organization, less aware of additive manufacturing, but have used the tool to help their engineers access additive manufacturing services throughout their whole organization much more easily. So that, if that's your scenario, having a tool like Authentize can help you filter orders from your entire workforce into one funnel and manage them, whether through external service providers or through internal capacity yourself. So that definitely is possible. Yes.
You showed us a few examples. Do you have any examples of clients who have saved money on quality assurance using your platform?
Yes, we have. Boeing is a large customer of ours, and they are now implementing the system not only to save money on their internal quality assurance, but start also vetting their external suppliers through the system. And those suppliers themselves are running the system to manage the entire process. And we've just added a work instruction feature, allows the shop floor to add feedback in terms of testing data directly back into the traceability report from their app. And that's an advantage that I think they're benefiting from. A lot of time is saved creating those traceability reports. So both in smaller shop floors and in large organizations, we're saving companies time and money on QA.
Great. And we have one more question from Eduardo. Which are the most common RPAs already implemented in the finance area?
So the tools that are being, the process automations that are being implemented using our tool in finance are mostly around reporting, trying to allocate the costs that the system is capturing to the different departments to whom those costs occur. So that's a frequent challenge that our customers have. And we've seen that the integration of, for example, we've integrated Microsoft Flows for some of the manual workflow automation that definitely helps in those areas.
Great. Thank you,
Thank you very
Andre,
much.
for being with us
Appreciate
today.
it.
Thank you
Yes,
so
thanks
much.
for having me.
That was our last startup focusing on robotics and automation. And the next two startups are focusing on predictive maintenance. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Senseye.
Good morning and welcome to my presentation on cost-saving technology for industry. I'll be talking about predictive maintenance, and I am Alexander Hill, the Chief Global Strategist and one of the co-founders of Senseye. We were established in 2014 and we have offices in the UK, France, Germany, Japan and the States, where I'm actually based. We focus on developing one product, that is Senseye Predictive Maintenance, and we have a number of methodologies around that help to guide customers to get the best from their predictive maintenance program. When we talk about cost saving in industry, we split that into two categories, maintenance and manufacturing efficiencies, as well as quality and consistency. By far the easiest KPI to measure is unplanned downtime, and that's what I'll be talking about today. The amount of unplanned downtime cost can be between about $10,000 to well in excess of $3.5 million per hour. And if you consider that about 90% of maintenance work is often categorized as crisis work, that is fighting fires, there's a huge potential to reduce that cost and save a lot of money. That's typically done right now by using some form of condition monitoring. The challenge is that the hardware is extremely expensive and it's often periodically used, so condition monitoring is often periodically performed. It's time consuming and requires very specialist interpretation skills. As a result, it's very hard to scale and actually get proper value from. The way we tackle this is we're not limited by any sensor or any particular machine. We can actually use data from automated control systems and use that as condition monitoring type data, so you do not need specific condition monitoring sensors installed. We use the principles then of condition monitoring, as well as artificial intelligence and machine learning to understand what is relevant to look at that machine. And we combine that with maintenance data to enable prognostics. That is the science of understanding remaining useful life, so that we can send a maintainer a text saying, hey, your motor has a 70% risk of failing within 2 weeks. What do you want to do about it? And crucially, we can do that at scale. And by that, I mean, imagine this scenario where we're looking at 5,000 data points, perhaps representing 500 assets. There might be 50 events that are interesting within a particular day. We don't want to tell the users about every single one of those. We need to distill that into one case about how your machinery is behaving, why is it likely to fail, and when will it fail. We then actually do all of that automatically using a patented agent-based system, and we learn then what the behavior of the maintainer has been so that we can then improve those algorithms, and that all happens completely automatically. Companies that use this include Nissan, Schneider Electric, and Alcoa. With Nissan, we actually had a full ROI within much less than 3 months. And last year alone, we saved over $5 million at a single site. We're now deployed in 8 sites worldwide with them. Schneider Electric integrate our technology into some of their products and use our technology within their own factories. And Alcoa, the metal manufacturer, use our technology in their mining and their smelting sites worldwide. What makes us different is because a lot of companies right now talk about predictive maintenance is we have a category-leading ROI. And that's really coming about from our expertise in developing these systems in aerospace and defense before we started Sensei, and seeing ourselves as very much a condition monitoring company that happens to use software. So we have in-house condition monitoring experts as well as predictive maintenance experts. And we develop all of our IP completely in-house. It's all proprietary. The key benefits of that are increased maintenance productivity, a reduction in downtime, and ultimately a huge cost saving. I'd like to leave you with a final thought. A lot of companies believe that they need to have sensors installed in order to get the best, in order to do any predictive maintenance, and they don't necessarily need to. So sensors could really just be some form of Industry 4 capable system. Can you collect metrics from your machines that include things like current and torque? If so, you can actually start to take advantage of predictive maintenance. Thank you for your time today. I'll be around to take any questions and look forward to them.
Thank you. Alex, can you hear us?
I can, yes.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. You can see I'm slightly differently outfitted and the weather isn't as good as it was the other day. But other than that, great. How are you?
I'm good. Same with you, like you just said. Hanging in there, getting used to the whole work from home situation, and it keeps going on. But anyways, jumping into the question, Dan is asking, is your focus on industrial manufacturing, or do you also work with building facilities, for example, HVAC systems?
It's an interesting one. So, and a good example actually is some of the Nissan sites. We will look at everything within that site. That includes wind turbines on the site to generate power, all their HVAC systems, even things like their electrical cabinets. So we do get into some forms of building management, and we have done some projects around that. Our primary focus is on the actual manufacturing equipment, but really anything that generates data that we can relate back to machine health somehow, we can use.
Right, interesting. And there are a couple more questions actually coming in. We're running a little bit behind, so I'd suggest maybe you can take those in the Q&A box. That would be great. But sure. Thank you, Alex, for joining us today. Sorry, we're a little running late. So, but with that, we want to introduce our last startup, Fero Labs, and hear from them.
I am particularly excited to tell you about what we do at Fero, because this is a very relevant topic, especially in these days of extreme uncertainty. At a high level, we're a software company focusing on using machine learning to help industrial companies turn their data into their competitive advantage and help them drive profits in the process. Now, it is clear that the industrial sector is facing many challenges, including cost pressures, the pressure to innovate, and sustainability goals. And of course, AI is commonly positioned by many vendors as being a family of technologies that can address these problems, that can come in and magically solve them. Now at Fero, we try to have a more grounded view. We believe that AI is not a magic bullet, but rather a very powerful tool that can help with these challenges if it's applied correctly and if it's applied by domain experts. And our mission at Fero is to make sure that AI is applied correctly to drive quick bottom line returns. So what is Fero? Fero is a software suite that offers a range of optimization applications. It is meant to enable data-driven decision-making across the organization so that engineers can create models, plant managers can monitor their performance, and even operators can use the results. The software works by understanding the operation of a plant and then recommending and predicting optimal operating zones for processes such that certain KPIs can be improved and costs can thus be reduced. Now we can categorize the Fero use cases into two families. On the one hand, we have process and quality optimization. So these are use cases like reducing raw material cost of a batch while maintaining its quality. So in this case, in the top left, Gerdau is a very large steel company. They developed new grades of steel using Fero that achieved 9% lower costs. And this is absolutely massive in the steel sector. And they did this without compromising quality, and they did this within months of implementing Fero. Other similar use cases in process and quality optimization include increasing yield, and also reducing emissions. And a second family of use cases revolve around predictive maintenance, as you see on the top right. However, unlike many other vendors, we do not focus on reducing unplanned downtime. What we focus on is on learning the factors that impact the remaining useful life of an asset and helps engineers extend that. Effectively, this is what it does is it increases the ROI of an asset, such as a heat exchanger. So understanding which parameter impacts the lifetime of a heat exchanger, how it can change certain flow parameters in other parts of the process can help extend the life or forecast the optimal time to take down an asset like a heat exchanger. And the one thing I will add is that if the aim is to create short-term cost-cutting measures, I would say process optimization is likely a better candidate than predictive maintenance. It helps reduce costs, scrap rate, rework, inventory costs, and these are more likely to have short-term impact. In terms of our core technology, Fero is built around a machine learning engine that does two things. First, it looks at all historical data and learn which of these sensors and set points has the highest impact on various KPIs and on the profit. It builds a very accurate model of your plant with this information. And then, as you see on the right, when you use this model to optimize the plant and suggest ways to operate it in a better way. These are some of the companies we've been working with all this time. And if you're interested, this is definitely the right time to look into digital technologies, as these can help reduce costs in Q3, Q4, and these are also work that can be executed remotely. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. Bert, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear very well.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm looking at my screen as well. I'm good. I'm connecting from COVID-invested New York.
Oh, okay. How's it going over there?
But things are well. Yeah, but things are well. I mean, it's getting better.
All right, good to hear. Let's jump into the questions. So, what is your competitive advantage over other AI companies?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that I didn't get a chance to get into really in the 4 minutes. But the core technology that all of our technology is built on is what we call explainable machine learning. That's our core expertise, and all of our models are not just using to predict things, but they also can essentially open up these boxes and explain why the models are making the decisions that they're making. Our core technology, which comes from our chief scientist research at Columbia, comes from an explainable AI grant from DARPA that is at the core of our technology, and that allows, in the predictive maintenance case, not just predicting remaining useful life, but understanding which of the 1,000 possible factors impacts that and how it impacts it.
Great, thank you. One more question, the last question for today. With your predictive maintenance use case, what kinds of data do you need to collect to calculate those lifetime impacting parameters? Yeah,
so the main goal there is to have a parameter that degrades over time. So a parameter that essentially summarizes the degradation or the efficiency of a particular asset. So it could be the efficiency of a pump, it could be the U value or efficiency of a heat exchanger, but something that's measured that typically would be used for condition monitoring. And the edge that Fero brings is that it takes that and it takes 1,000 different things happening inside the plant, connect those to understand which of these impacts that parameter that was already used for condition monitoring.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for joining us. That was our last question for today. With that, I want to thank all of the startups who joined us and who gave a pitch today, and also all of our attendees who took the time to join us today for the second part of our cost saving webinar. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I also hope that you guys will join us again May 14th for the last part of the webinar series. And with that, reach out to us if you have any questions or if you would like to get more information on the startups. Thank you very much, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy.